Hello everyone and welcome to the Brett Lee podcast. I'm your host Brett Lee here. Brad McNamara, of course, is always with me. We've got another big episode coming up today, Buzz. We've got David Warner, 91 test matches for Australia and counting, a superstar in world cricket. He's coming up in segment 2. But first, let's touch on what's happened in the last week or so. Firstly, what have you been up to?
G'day, Binger. Good to see you back from Oman, mate. And I saw on social media you lofting another trophy up. Got the cash.
Got the cash. We got the trophy. The only thing I don't think we have one is the Davis Cup, but I don't think we'll get that in the cupboard.
You're working on that.
No, mate, it was good.
No, mate, I've been good. Unfortunately, we had the New Zealand series, one-day series cancelled, which was a bit of a bummer. So I had a quietish week, although plenty of cricket been going on, as we'll get to in a minute, with the women's Ashes firing along, and of course the BBL final resolved itself. But just getting all in readiness for the T20 series against Sri Lanka.
Okay, any chance?
And getting kids back to school, which is, how good's that?
You mentioned the Big Bash happened whilst I was away in Oman. The Perth Scorchers, the buggers they got up. I mean, look, they were probably the informed team of the season. They beat the Sixers. Too good, weren't they?
Well, it was, the Sixers were way up against it, as we spoke about last time we did the podcast. I think it was the day of, with all sorts of injury problems and ridiculous scenario where Steve Smith couldn't play.
Oh, no, crazy.
They actually had the Scorchers 4 for 25, the Sixers, and it looked like, a miracle. Well, not a miracle, but it looked like a bit of a hell of an upset, because the Scorchers had been the strongest, probably consistently the strongest BBL side all summer. And then just too good. A partnership, I think it was Laurie Evans, who smashed the Scorchers into a respectable position, and then it was just a bridge too far for the Sixers with a very weakened batting lineup to get there in the end.
I was
deserved winners.
They were. It kills me to say it, my beloved boys of Magenta. But I was over there watching with Hads online, and when they had them 4 for, I thought, here we go, the Sixers, they're home and host. But let's have a listen to the moment it did happen. Perth Scorchers beating the Sydney Sixers.
He'll have him hopping. Has to be out. It is out. Perth scorched the Sixers. They belt their arch rivals. A 4th title. Breaking records. What a franchise they are. The Scorchers in Big Bash 11 by 79 runs.
Yeah, it's always a special moment, isn't it, when you can lift that trophy up. You get the last wicket, and congratulations to Perth Scorchers.
Yeah, well, 4 BBL titles now, as opposed to the Sixers 3. So they've been the dominant 2 sides, but you have to say, pretty unlucky from the Sixers. Well deserved the Scorchers, and next year will be another chance for the Sixers to get square.
Yeah, I know, and they've got a couple of amazing coaches too throughout those 4 wins. Justin Langer, who we'll get to in a second, and Adam Voges as well. I think's done a great job. But look, it was a great series and
the other thing to the Scorchers you've got to remember too, they didn't play at home, so they've spent that whole
in a bubble.
Pretty much away from home in a bubble, playing in foreign venues. Didn't get the home ground advantage. So when you look at it like that, it's a pretty special win from them.
It's a good point, very good point actually that you raise. Now the women's Ashes, it ended up being a draw. A lot of talk on social media. Should that be a 5-day test match like the men's? Because they lost, the chance to win or lose by 1 wicket. Another day would have obviously seemed like a result.
Yeah, well, it was a brave declaration for Meg Lanning, because they lost a lot of day 3 due to rain at Manuka down in Canberra. A very sporting declaration. I guess this is a conversation that goes over a lot of women's sport, isn't it? At tennis, we've just had Ash Barty with that amazing.
How good's Ash?
How good? Yeah, just what a phenomenal athlete and person. But that whole discussion, which has gone for many years now, should women's tennis be over 5 sets? And this sort of goes down the line alongside with that. Now,
I'm saying yes. I'm saying 5 days. Why not?
Yeah, let's cut to the chase. Look, it's Test cricket. I mean, there was talk of reducing men's Test matches to 4 days.
Give me a break.
And then you miss out on scenarios like we had in Sydney. That amazing Test. If it's not break, don't fix it with the men's Test game. I think that needs to stay 5 days. That's part of the beauty and the tradition of, I think sports have to move along with the times. I think they should try women's Test matches for 5 days and see how they go. I think they definitely need to play more Test matches. Well, that was Meg Lanning's 4th ever Test match. Can you believe that? She seems to have been around for forever. To have only played 4 Test matches in the span of her career, it's probably not enough. And I think it'd be a decision easier made should they play more Test cricket, and then we can have a bit better a look at how things go. But I can't see why they shouldn't try it and see how it goes.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. And it might sound like an oxymoron, but it was a good draw, like we saw up in Sydney. Let's have a listen to the moment that the women's Ashes draw happened.
That's a full toss. It is a draw, and it is one of the very best Test matches we've seen in women's Ashes.
Yeah, tense stuff, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, it went down the last ball. You'd have to say, though, there's always the winning side of the draw and the losing side of the draw. England absolutely butchered that.
Oh, yeah.
7 wickets in hand, needing a run of ball. The field was spread, and for some reason they started trying to hit it over the fielders on the boundary. So it would have felt more like a loss to them. But an amazing declaration, a great advert for the continual rise in women's cricket. And actually today, the one-dayers begin.
Yes, and
Australia need to win one more, I think, to
correct.
retain the Ashes.
I think England have to win 4, don't they? I think.
Yeah. Well, they've got to
win everything.
just about win everything to get out. That's why it was great to see them going for the win, and then why they'd be so disappointed about. Essentially, let's be honest. I was watching Heather Knight being interviewed. They threw that Test match away really with probably a bit of inexperience because they don't play a lot of long format through it. But we've all been involved in sides that have choked.
Yeah, well, we have.
Let's face it.
It's just great to see the girls getting the recognition and I guess the coverage that they should get. So well done to them. Now, we've obviously seen throughout the last few days as well the Allan Border Medal, which obviously couldn't be held because of COVID. Mitchell Starc, my mate Mitchell Starc, that I backed from the start of this season, that everyone was writing off, wins the Allan Border Medal. How good?
Yeah, and I thought he was a little unlucky not to win Player of the Series in the Ashes, Mitchell Starc. Travis Head ended up getting that, and I think got Test Player of the Year.
Yep.
Obviously a curtailed season, but good on him, yeah. Good to see him bounce back. He had a difficult year last year with the passing of his father, so to bounce back from that sort of adversity and play the cricket we all knew he was capable of was just fantastic. Had a big hand in, remember too, big hand not only in that Ashes series, but in Australia winning the T20 World Cup for the first time, and obviously some good performances in one-day cricket, so a deserved winner.
Yeah, well done to Mitchell Starc on the AB medal and Travis Head being the Test player. Now we've got, as we always like to have a look at what is in the WhatsApp questions, and we've got heaps of them, so we apologise that we can't get through every single question.
Got?
One here from Tej, and it says, with so much T20 cricket going on, what can the cricket boards do, in your opinion, to save and promote the longer formats of the game? Do you think that scrapping the Champions Trophy was a terrible idea? Good question.
Yeah, the Champions Trophy, so let's explain that. That was like, so basically, as the name would suggest, the champion from each country played in a tournament. Usually it was in India, wasn't it? Did you play in that? I think
I did.
The Sixers. Was it the Sixers? Was it the BBL franchises, or was it states back then?
Yeah, that was a Champions League, and then they had the Champions Trophy as well. So there's a couple of different formats you can play. The Champions League was the one where the New South Wales Blues took it out back in 2009, I think it was.
That's right. Was that just
David Warner was part of that?
Yeah, just before, or it was either very early in BBL, or it was when it was still a state-based competition.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look, it's hard. There's so many different leagues around the world now. It's hard. Scheduling's probably the biggest problem cricket faces, trying to fit everything in. So in terms of the long format of the game, I think we need to be more careful about prolonging that and preserving. We're just talking about Test match cricket and the beauty of it, and making sure that doesn't suffer at the hands in scheduling terms of the short form stuff. I mean, I would suggest in relation to that question that Australia and the Cricket Australia really need to look at the BBL at the moment in terms of how we can get that back to what it once was. I think there's probably a prevailing feeling out there that it's dropped off a little bit. I know we've had 2 years of COVID, but it seems like Test match cricket is flying at the moment, and that's struggling. So I'm not sure that the long format's the one under the pump at the moment, especially in Australia. But you go around the world in all these different tournaments. I mean, look at the thing you just played in over in Oman. I mean, the fact that things like that are happening and there's an appetite for that, and we're about to come into the IPL, the Pakistan Super League's flying at the moment. The quality of that's been great. So yeah, I don't think the short form game's in any trouble at all. It's more the long form one. I don't know if you agree, Binger, but I mean, you're sort of more involved in this stuff than most.
Yeah, well, look, I think where my passion lies is I love the sort of shorter form of the game, the T20 cricket, to play, to commentate on it. I love the one-day cricket format, but to me it's about Test cricket. You know, that's where I think over 5 days, and that's why the women's Ashes should go for 5 days. It's a test of the endurance, the test of your character and the courage to last those 5 days. So I still believe Test cricket is the best format, so I want to make sure that's taken care of and preserved. All right, got another one here from Aditya. So, given all the noise around the coaching extension, this is obviously the topic of Justin Langer, which I want to talk to you about as well, Buzz, and get some points from you. Will Binger be fine taking up a coaching job if offered by Cricket Australia? Look, I love my coaching. I love being a bowling mentor. I think being the head coach of the Australian cricket team is a tremendously hard job at the moment. It's probably something I wouldn't want to do. But Justin Langer, now there's been so much written about him. His head's been on the chopping block, a bit like what we're seeing with Mitchell Starc. He now has to, what we're reading, reapply for that position to be coach. What the hell does this guy have to do to prove how good he is, considering he's just won the T20 World Cup for the first time and coached the team that's gone on to win the Ashes 4-0?
Well, results lately have been, you can't do any more than he's done, results-wise.
So why is he under the pump? Why is Justin Langer being hung out to dry every single time?
I guess that's a different question. Should he be under the pump, and why is he under the pump? Results lately say no, but why is this dragging on so long? I mean, I can't get my head around why the decision hasn't just been made. I mean, why do we need to allow this situation to fester and for all these reports coming out left, right, and centre over the I will say I think. And I've been pretty strong on this previously, and even wrote an article for Fox Sports on it. I think the importance of the cricket coaches has become and allowed to become way too important. I think what I loved about Australia's cricket this year was you could tell the players and Pat Cummins as captain.
They owned it.
They were driving the team.
Yep.
Whereas I got the feeling in the previous years it was a bit like a football side, and the coach and the coaching staff were making all the decisions. I might be wrong. I'm not in the middle of it. And it felt this year like the power, probably power is not the right word, but the onus came back on the players to be adults and make their own decisions and drive the sort of, this is the team we want, with the coach a bit more, taking a bit more of a background seat. Now, the results, whether that happened or not, I don't know. I'm not involved. I'm not in the middle. The results seem to pick up in Australia's favour once they did that. So that's the first thing. Is the role of coach important as it's being made out to be? Do we need to reset that? I'd like to see the coach having a bit more of a back, as in your day. Who were your coaches when you played? So you had John
Buchanan, Tim Nielsen.
Yeah, I think it's got from, and then you can go back even further to Jeff Marsh and Bob Simpson and other Australian coaches. It seemed to me like they got the side ready, but they weren't like a football-style manager, like the debacle England had with Chris Silverwood this year. You can't have one person who's not on the ground,
an absolute shambles,
running a cricket team. I just think we've got to get back to letting Pat Cummins is all over it. He's done such a great job. You can tell how happy they are. I'm not saying they weren't before that, but you can just tell the difference in the Australian side. So whether they keep Justin Langer or not, the other thing I will say, I'm a bit concerned the players haven't come out. I know that there's only so much.
Supported him.
I think that I don't know if that's instructive, but you would think that there'd be a bit more support from the players.
Good point.
If they really wanted to keep Justin Langer.
Yep.
I reckon that's been lacking a bit, and that could be letting you know a little bit what's going on. I just wish, whatever they do, let's just do it quick. Let's rip the Band-Aid. Whichever way you're going to go, do it and get on with it, because it's like trying to get a development application through the council at the moment, trying to get Cricket Australia to make a decision on anything.
Well, good luck getting that.
Well, it is. It's a bit like that. I mean,
It's
make a decision, for Christ's sake.
It's Thursday afternoon here, Sydney time. Apparently what we're reading and what we're hearing is that it's going to be announced probably tomorrow, Friday, Sydney time. Question for you, Buzz. This has got me, what's the word I'm after? This is
Just hang on,
stupid.
sorry to interrupt you. Would you consider, would you like to do some cricket coaching?
Look,
Just on the WhatsApp question?
I enjoy coaching, definitely. You know, I love, and I do a lot of coaching behind the scenes that I don't publicly announce. There's a couple of guys I'm looking after in terms of their bowling actions and stuff, but I love doing that. I think if you have to if you're taking a paid job where you have to be there, not 24/7, but, you know, these guys are away for up to 300 days a year now as a coach. To me, that's a massive commitment. As a bowling coach, yeah, 100%. I'd love to be able to work with the Aussie cricket team and work with some of the guys. I think I've been away from the game long enough. As a head coach, that's something that doesn't interest me at all.
I'm going to ask you one more question. Go back to your playing days. What did you want from your coach? What did you need? Did you need someone telling you how to do your shoelaces up and when to eat and when to fart and when to bloody take a piss?
I think sometimes a coach is glorified too much as that English sort of football coach sometimes, where they pretty much call all the shots. To me, a good coach is a good man manager. You know, someone that needs to kick up the arse when they need to kick up the arse for the players coming through, someone that will challenge you as a person, but someone that's going to have your back. And I think that's what makes a good coach. So a person that's behind the scenes, there to have a chat, whether it's about the cricket, whether it's about life in general. You know, you might be struggling at home with a family, or you had a fight with the missus, whatever it might be. That to me is a good coach. And I think the reputation that Justin Langer's got, he's a type of guy that is a terrific guy. I know him as a teammate. I know him as a person. So I can only tick the box for Justin Langer. So I hope that he gets the opportunity to make that call. But the question I have, which I'm just dumbfounded, how the hell can Cricket Australia have a secret meeting with Justin Langer and then it's on every single page?
Well, very good question.
It's not a secret meeting.
No, there's obviously leaks coming out of that meeting. And I'm not going to say I got no idea where they're coming from.
Where's it come from?
Well, it's got to be from someone in the meeting or someone who's been told about the meeting. So yeah, these things leak like a sieve, don't they? I mean, that's why. Why is it being done now? This, it just makes you wonder. As I said, it's like going to the council for a development. Someone just needs to make a decision.
Well, it should have happened after the Pakistan tour, in my opinion.
Yeah, but why? Why does the Board of Cricket Australia need to? Why are they making? Isn't there someone who run? Ben Oliver, isn't he runs? Whoever's running cricket, in charge of running cricket,
should make that call.
Make the call.
Yeah, and maybe
you talk to the players. You got to be careful the players don't become too powerful because I like what you said about Justin Langer challenging, and there's no doubt he's challenged people at various stages to be better and the team to be better, and you don't want players who have been challenged going soft and going for the easy option. But I just think it's just dragged on too long, and there's no good come of it. And we've got to be better in cricket at just making bloody decisions.
Yeah,
and that's what I love about.
Stop fart-arsing around.
That's what I love about involved in the NRL a bit. And since Peter Volandis has taken over, no disrespect for the people that have been behind him, but he just makes the decision and gets on with it. And this is how we're rolling. And
there's that no bullshit policy. Just cut it out, get on with it.
I'd love to see a bit more of that cricket because there's a little bit of the old school blazer still involved with all the states and the way it's governed. And I reckon the sooner we get out of that shit, the better.
Well said, Buzz. All right, quick little break. Going to come back with a world-class superstar, David Warner, 91 tests for his country.
I'm looking forward to this.
Looking forward to chatting up to David Warner and just getting his opinions on a few different things in world cricket. Stay with us. He's up next. Welcome back to the Brett Lee podcast, Buzzard, segment 2. We love this one. This is where we get the chance to chat to a special guest, a good mate of ours and a former teammate of mine, David Warner, 35 years of age, born in Paddington, lovely Sydney. He debuted in test matches back in 2011 against the Kiwis, December the 1st. He's played 91 tests for Australia, nearly 8,000 runs, 2,400 of an average of close to 48 with a high score of 335 not out. I mean, if that's not a great intro, nothing is. Bull, welcome, mate. How's things?
Thanks, Binger. Not too bad. Everything's great after a World Cup win and an Ashes victory and a bit of downtime before we head off to Pakistan.
Dave, it's been a great 6 months, as you said. When Binger reads those stats out, and you've obviously still got a long way to go, by nowhere near any means finished, do you ever sit back and reflect on those sort of numbers? Or is it only when someone like Binger or someone reads that out? Have you had a chance to let that sink in?
No, I haven't let it sink in. No, it's just more about doing what we do. And I think you sit back, I'm pretty sure you can speak for this, Binger, is that when you sit back and you look back at your career, I think the most important thing is it's about the memories. I don't think, when you look back at stats and everything, that's just the great part of the game that you've been able to play for so long. Because if you don't have those stats, you're probably not playing. So, that just comes with what we do. So we just, I love sharing the memories, being part of those memories. And, if I was able to play just a game for Australia was awesome. And I was grateful for that. So, I'll look back in time. I'm sitting probably doing one of these podcasts in about 5 years' time as well, and talk about that then.
Well, mate, you're only 9 away from that magical 100 mark, which is, I guess, the hallmark of any Australian cricketer to play 100 tests for your country. 128 ODIs at, over 5.5 or close to 5,500 runs, 1,800s as well. Haven't even mentioned T20 cricket. You lit that up first. That was the first format you played in. 35 years of age, as I mentioned. The way that you look, your fitness, the way that you train harder than anyone in the team, and I can vouch for that. Watching you when you come in as a young cricketer for New South Wales, firstly, and as I mentioned, a teammate, and also for Australia. But do you see yourself playing for a number more years? You're only 35, another 5 or 6 years left in you.
Yeah, look, I talk about it every day with Candace and trying to manage, with 3 kids and how we can go about it with 2 at school now. So for me, I've got plenty of games left in these leagues, that's for sure. Obviously the test matches and the one-day cricket sort of gets to that point now with the long tours away. So, if I look too far ahead, I'd probably want to retire today. But I think given what me and Steve pretty much went through and the rest of the boys, when a lot of the guys sort of finished up their careers, with Watto, Jono, yourself, punter early on, with obviously Pup taking over and then Pup retiring with Hads. There was a big hole left, and I feel that we need to make sure that the next generation that are coming through are well established. I think you look at Travis Head, Marnus Labuschagne, obviously Uzi came back into the fold. When you got the younger guys that are coming in and stepping up, we're almost there to say goodbye. And I think that's where I feel like I owe the sport a lot, is I owe the sport the talent that's there to leave at the right time. It's not about any milestones. It's all about, there is ticking off. Like, I'd love to beat India in India. That's a massive one. Obviously, with the Ashes, we tied it over there. Might look forward to going back there next year. We'll have to see how the sort of next 12 months unfolds. But as you said, I've got lots of time left in these legs. It's just about managing my time off the field, which I'm grateful for, because George Bailey, Chairman of Selectors, he's communicating that with me and a lot of the other players as well who have families, and managing that time.
Dave, it's probably not for you to say, but in line with what you're saying, then I hope the game gives you the opportunity to use your experience with these younger players in a leadership role pretty soon. Let's hope that the people come to their senses. I know we don't want to sort of get into too much of that sort of stuff, but from a personal point of view, there'd be a great waste and pity if they don't do that. Mate, take us back to the beginning. Everyone has a story, but yours is a familiar one to me. I grew up in a housing commission house in Greenacre. You also came from very humble beginnings. Take us back.
Yeah, look, I for me, everything started in my backyard in housing commission with my brother with cricket. Mum and Dad, put food on the table for us. They worked, it's like everyone, 9 to 5. Mum's been an aged care nurse for 30 odd years. Dad's been a salesman for God knows long how, basically his whole entire life. And it was a competitiveness between me and my brother, basically growing up with footy and cricket. He's 7 years older than me. So I think a lot of his mistakes I learned from early doors. And I think growing up in the Housing Commission gave me that sort of chance to look around me and give me the opportunity to actually put my head down and work towards goals. I saw a lot of stuff that wasn't nice. I saw a lot of good in some people who have turned out very, very well off and are very established. And I think I learned early on through that. And I think through cricket, my brother making it to, I think New South Wales 17s, 19s, and then sort of fell off around 23, 24. I knew that if I was half as talented as he was, I could probably potentially play cricket. It wasn't the be-all, end-all. I worked at Woolworths since I was 14, 9 months. I helped mum and dad with the rent. I did everything I could to support my family as well, as long as trying to save money and stay at school. But I knew school wasn't for me. So I love playing cricket, love playing footy, I love just playing sport. Had a lot of good friends in the Housing Commission that we played footy and cricket every day. And then, I pretty much I think like your guys' stories that you get picked in certain teams, you don't really think that that's going to be what you do. I just play it because I love it. And that's how I play it now. I don't treat it as a job. I treat it as a hobby. I love playing it. And I treat my golf more serious than my cricket. But, I think I haven't looked back. I've just really looked back at how I was brought up and where I am today. I'm just grateful for those learnings as a young kid through Housing Commission, working hard at Woolworths, just being determined to have goals in place to reach them. And I think I've landed in a great space, and I've been grateful to play cricket for as long as I have.
Yeah, and look, I think that's the reason why you have kept your feet on the ground and stayed very humble. For those that don't know, you haven't changed one bit, which is fantastic. You're still that guy that burst onto the New South Wales scene and backed himself 100%. You see a lot of the public, they look at Australian cricketers and think, oh, they're driving beautiful cars and living, mansions and that type of stuff. But the hard work and dedication and the training and the setbacks that you've been through that people don't see, does that make you more hungry to keep wanting to achieve things? And, I guess the hard work that you've had done previously up to this stage, it's those moments that make it even more sweeter.
Yeah, my hunger now is more about, my kids seeing what I do. And I think that's where, I looked at yourself, and I know Brad and Mitch, and I think Hoggy's a great example. You want your kids to know what you did do, because our career is short. And if you don't have kids at the earliest stage, they don't have a recollection of what you did. So that's my greatest achievement now, is having my kids, my family, and my beautiful wife, Candace, to come along this journey with me. And I think, you go back to when I did first start, we have dreams. I had a dream move. I had Michael Schumacher, and I had a Ferrari and a Lamborghini on my wall. And that was something I looked at every day. Like, I looked at it and I was like, I'm going to get one day. And I think, when you play sport, you're in a fortunate position where you can purchase these things. I've never understood why, if you do get it, you get tarnished with this brush. And
yep.
I don't know why that is.
That's an Australian thing, mate.
Exactly. Yeah,
100%.
Like you've accomplished something. It's like, and I bought a unit, I bought a place before I bought all that stuff. I did all the right things, had the right people around me to put me in that space to invest. And I was like, okay, am I allowed to do this? And they said, if you want to, you can afford it. So I know I just look at things now in the perspective of, I'm a dad. So I'm now driving a Volkswagen multivan. I've got one of those on order because I have to. I've got 3 kids, so you've got to have an extra seat for their friends. I think a lot of stuff now is I do everything for my kids, and I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't change it.
Davey, I reckon, I was thinking about this before we had you on, I would have to say you're my favourite batsman to watch of all time. And you're one of the few people across all 3 formats that put bums on seats. And it's a great credit to you, but it's easy to say that. The way you play takes an enormous amount of courage. To go out there and take the bowling on, we talked to Shane Watson about this, the process of getting out of your own way, to have the courage to play like that. And you began like that. You're a unique player in that, well, not so much unique, you see a bit more of it now. Guys that began as short form players and stroke makers, and then you probably had to tone a few things down to make it in first class cricket and test match cricket. I guess, when did you decide that was the way you were going to play? And was there a process of having to get out of your own way to play with that fearless courage?
Yeah, I actually said a comment the other day to Michael Divenuto when I was playing after the first Ashes game. I said to him, mate, I'm playing my cricket in reverse. I'm actually becoming a cricketer now, let alone coming out and actually playing the way I did. And I think cricket smarts comes along, and I think back then it was clear mind. That's how I played, and that's how I will play. And after I played the 2020s, I got an opportunity to play the one-day series against South Africa. I played the same way. I was told to play the same way, and I got dropped after 7 games. But reality was, if you're not scoring, you're not going to get picked. So I had to go back and try and work out how to play one-day cricket. And I was learning as I was going along. And I think when I look back now and I am the player I am today, it's almost like I see these guys coming through, and I use overseas players as an example, like Liam Livingstone, for example, Salty, even like J-Roy. These guys go out hammer and tong. I think Josh Philippe is another one from Australia, and you've got Josh Inglis as well. They will eventually turn into proper cricket players, because at the moment you are playing like a 2020 cricket player, and you can play that way in one-day cricket, but as soon as form tapers off a bit, you have to work out how to play the game. And it's easy to go out there and play that one way. But as you said there, what I was saying was you do feel this bit of, all right, I'm going to tense up. I'm tensing up a little bit. How do I pick gaps? Am I just hitting it into the gaps, or am I trying to place it into the gaps? And that's the art of the game. And I think from my perspective, where I learned early, I accepted that I was going to fail. And I think fear of failure is a big thing in sports. If you can overcome fear of failure early on, and I did it early on, I accepted I was going to fail, I was going to be dropped, and that's it. That's life. Life is like that. And I accepted it, and I was grateful that I got dropped early on. And, I think last year it hit me more when I lost the captaincy with the IPL. I was like, okay, well, I could go back the old way and just go, well, I've looked at my stats. I don't need to comment. I don't need to do anything. But back then I had to, because I wasn't an established cricket player. I was just out of form. And I learned from that day there just to back myself, play my way. And if I kept playing that and being the best version of myself every day and being a team man as much as I can, it would hold me in good stead for the future. And I've always held that value throughout my whole career.
In terms of formats, I want to put you in the spot here and ask you a tough question, because if I get asked this question, I find it very hard to answer as well. But ODIs, T20 cricket, including over in India, is what we just you mentioned then, or Test cricket. Do you have a favourite format?
Look, when you look at the Ashes series, and we played that game in Sydney, I know it was a draw. But if you could play Test cricket every day of the week and just play that last hour of a Test match, that's what you play for. And I think they're the memories that stick in the back of your head of how hard the game is. And I have to say, Test cricket it's the pinnacle, and it's what we've grown up watching on TV. People don't realise how hard it is to play 5 days of cricket, not just physically but mentally. And being an opening batter, we get one chance. Sometimes if you're minus and you've got a crow on your bat, you get 10 chances. I can admit I would hate to be in your shoes and be a fast bowler, because there's no way in the world I could get up the next morning feeling that pain and going back out again and knowing the batters have done a crap job and I've got to bowl again.
Did you put your hand up for a bowl? You've got, 4 Test wickets, haven't you?
I do. I took the first change Meadows in South Africa once, and mate, we all put our hand up the bowl on these wickets this year. It was ridiculous. I think Test cricket's the pinnacle, mate, and I absolutely love it. And as you said, 91 Test matches. I've loved every single one of them, and hopefully I can keep playing more.
Yeah, and I think it was instructive. You were talking about working out your game. Like, there were periods in this Ashes series, I think the Gabba and at Adelaide, where it took you 20 or 30 balls to get off the mark. I think years ago, maybe you wouldn't have had the patience or the cricket smarts to do that. I just want to get into a technical thing. I was lucky enough to have a little bit to do with you when you're a kid coming through, and I was old and decrepit and do a little bit of coaching. I remember seeing you bat right-handed in the nets one day down at Waverley Oval, and I reckon you could score runs at first class level batting right-handed. How advantageous is it? Some great left-handed batsmen have been right-handed. I know you play golf right-handed, and being said, you mentioned we steam in and you bowled a few leggies right-handed. I try and explain this to people sometimes, run people through why that is an advantage. And do you look at things like your dominant eye? Is it an advantage to have your strongest eye facing the batsman? Or is that a load of shit?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I had someone recently tell me he changed his batting stance because his dominant eye was his other eye, and I was like, I stood there and I've actually said to myself, I'm like, all right, well, my left eye is my dominant eye. I actually have to get my left eye sort of rotate my head around a little bit more to aim at the bowler's right shoulder when he comes into bowl. So I identified that early on, and I was able to do that just by not just going to the optometrist, but I was actually, my head was hanging over a lot early on in my career, and I actually went and just, out of nowhere just asked, does that have a lot to do with cricket? And I actually think it does, because with right-handed, it was more for me, my left hand just wasn't strong enough to play sort of with a nice straight bat. But even when I bat left-handed, I've never played a straight bat. I play cross bat. So it didn't make sense, but I had more ability to keep the ball on the ground batting right-handed. And that's why I changed, because I kept on getting caught. And my coach said, mate, let's bat right-handed. You keep the ball on the ground. It's easier for you. And I said, you know what? I don't feel like I had enough strength. It was all bottom hand to actually play those shots. So after a year and a half, I just changed back to left-handed and worked out a way how I could hit the ball on the ground. But even still now, every time I cut the ball, I'm going to get caught at point sometimes. I'm going to get caught in gully, but that's where I score a lot of runs. So it sort of worked itself out where I was going to be dominant, and I just stuck with the power. And it is weird because I passed the ball better, right-hand way, facing right-handed. So, yeah, it's a weird one. And I was actually in Dubai recently, and I had the driver left-handed, and I was driving the ball at least 20 metres further than I do right-handed. But that's because the strength comes from my hips through cricket. And then the other hips, they don't usually work as well when you're playing golf, because it's not what we do in cricket. Well, I don't use my right hip for anything in cricket. So, yeah, it has its pros and cons, that's for sure.
When you, because I've spoken to Maxi about this, to Glenn Maxwell about the switch hit. Is that something that you try and put the pressure back on the bowler, or is it a premeditated thing, or does it just happen? Because a lot of kids ask me, does David Warner know he's going to play that before the ball's bowled?
I'll let you in a little secret, Bing. I know you guys are pretty smart as a fast bowler, but generally 9 times out of 10, if you're playing the shorter form, if you get hit for a boundary, you're going to bowl the ball a fraction shorter, so you're going to preempt it, right? So that's when Maxi and them play those ones over there. But with a spinner, you sort of understand where they're going to bowl. So, like, if Rashid Khan's going to bowl to me or Adam Zampa, they're going to bowl wrong ones on the stumps, and it's always going to go past my outside of the edge. So I know they're not going to get me LBW, and if I go with the spin, it's going to go over there. They're going to have the fielders up pretty much. And Maxi's quite the same. If the ball's spinning into him, he's going to go with the ball. So he's going to play the reverse sweep because the ball's meeting the bat. It's harder to get the pace onto the ball spinning away from you. But I find that's when I play my best, I think, when the ball's going away from me, because I can actually get outside the line, hit the ball over there, where Maxi, because he played hockey, he's got a flick, right? So I actually have to play a proper cricket shot where he can just flick his hands. He's got so much power. His name is Josh Butler. They're both the same. So they just predict the length. So you do premeditate sometimes, but for me, it's generally either the first ball or the over. So it is a bit of premeditation, but I pretty much know where they're going to bowl it, because they are in that zone. They can't bowl you a Yorker because they're not bowling at 140, 50 k's an hour. When Maxi and all them play those shots, they pretty much know that the bowler's going to bowl a Yorker. You got a sense of that, I reckon.
Mate, most sportsmen, especially at the top of their game like you are, have a turning point or a moment or a sliding doors moment in their career. Can you think of one?
Well, life has been a sliding door. There's been a lot of them. I don't think there's a day that goes by.
Is there a big one, though, one that really sticks out? Is that was the moment where I turned things around, or things went to shit, or whatever?
I think that period in 2013, I think where I got dropped from the first two Ashes tests in England after the Joe Root saga that happened, and I think then and there was more like when I went to Africa and I think I scored 180 or 190 odd. I came back and I still, to this day, laugh because I was told that I wasn't hitting the ball well enough in the nets to be selected. And I said to Rod Marsh at the time, I said, mate, have you ever watched the net that I've batted in? Because I've never batted well in the nets. And I think, I think then and there it sort of hit me that, you've got a good 10 years left in you. This is 2013, 14. And, if I don't pull my head in here, it could be taken away from me in the next 6 months. And I think that really was the turning point. I met, I got in touch with Candace, and I had a mate come over with me. I actually had 2 or 3 mates come over and sort of take me under their wing and just, say, mate, this is what life's about. Wayne Geeb was one of those people, and he helped me big time, and he's a big supporter of mine. Got me back into some fitness while I was there. He was only there for about a week, but I just switched. Something just switched, and I said, you know what, I'm going to give this a real crack. And I was sort of that person that was always like, I was always vocal. I play with my heart on my sleeve. And yeah, sometimes I did cross that line, but that was the competitiveness inside me. And I think, today with IPL and all these different forms of the game, we play with a lot of different people, and people get to know you. They know what you're about. And the game's played very humbly now, I think. It's played in great spirits all the time. I think in the heat of the moment, sometimes there might be a little bit of banter. But 2013 for me was probably definitely the most definitive turning point.
Yeah, you mentioned your fitness. We touched on it at the start of this interview. You've said very, very publicly about Candice being your rock, and she's obviously been there for you through your whole career since you guys have met. You've got 3 beautiful daughters. It sort of seems since you've met Candice, you've become the perfect specimen. You've become a better player. You've become a lot fitter. Is your fitness down to Candice because she's a quicker runner than you? She's definitely got a bigger engine than me, that's for sure. She's an absolute machine, and I think you just hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of my ways of living changed. I was getting up at 5 a.m. Pretty much Candice built that discipline inside me, coming from an individual athlete training 7 days a week to a cricketer getting up at 10 o'clock in the morning, have to go training at 12. I don't see any point of waking up at 5 a.m, but I got into that routine. I got into the habit. I was eating better. I wasn't drinking as much. I changed from bourbon and Coke to fine wine. Good boy.
I think just the discipline side of it from an individual athlete's point of view, she couldn't believe how much alcohol actually cricketers drank. And I said, look, I get that and I respect it. I feel like, in a team sport, you've got 11 players and we might think that it could be left up to the next person. I think, so I really just, I got into a good fitness regime. I ate well. I just stayed fit. And I think today where I am is all credit to Candice. And I feel like a lot of the guys now in the team, they laugh at me because I don't train as much. I don't hit as many balls now. I used to hit a lot of balls. At training now, I taper it off, probably hit once, maybe twice just before the game, because a lot of my stuff is behind closed doors. I do a lot of running still, do a lot of gym stuff, and that's where I feel like for me to get through the next 5 years to play, a couple of years of Test cricket and 2020 cricket, I've got to stay on top of my fitness because we've done the game for so long. We know what our skill is. If I face a new rock for an hour and I hit the ball well in the middle, it holds me in good stead. I get that. I've done that for so long. But I've got to keep fit. I've got to keep on top of that. Hammies, I will get slower. It's the inevitable. But if I stay on top of it, I can feel fit. I can feel young.
Dave, what's the difference in fitness required? How do you train? Like we watch you in hot conditions, for instance, in the subcontinent. Batting 20 overs in a T20 match must be enormously taxing. Just the amount of sprinting and that sort of thing, as opposed to batting, for example, when you scored 300 against Pakistan at Adelaide Oval a couple of years ago. How do you train to cater for those two situations?
Yeah, I actually surprised myself when I batted for that long and someone said it was about 9 hours. It was crazy. Like I was mentally exhausted for the next 3 days after that. I was pretty much nowhere in the field. I was yawning. I was really tired. My legs were cooked. And it took a lot of it mentally fatigued me. And I think before that, I played obviously in Queensland and scored 100 as well. And that zaps you more than anything. And I feel like when you play 2020 cricket, especially when you're playing in India conditions, that cooks your body, that taxes your legs, and I feel like you don't recover. And I think you look at Maxi's IPL last year, after he's in there for 3 overs, he was cooked. Because what happens is you only get 2 or 3 days, right, between, but your intensity of running between wickets is 100%. In Test match cricket, your mental side of things is 100%, where you can run at 25% between wickets, you know? So that plus the weather, it kills you. And if you're playing 14 games in the space of 60, 70 days with training in between, you can't physically prepare for that. So long story short, what I was doing at the IPL, when I first arrived, I had about 7 days to prepare. I would sauna for 10 minutes. I'd run a K on the treadmill, back in the sauna, run on the treadmill, and the cleaners would be like, "What, mate, you can't, you're going to fall over, you're going to slip." And I said, "Mate, I need to work out a way to get this into me, because if I don't replicate that out in the middle, if I do it once and I'm cooked,
it's bloody hot out there, isn't it?
It's not going to be great the next day." So, you know, I had to really prepare like that, and that's the only way I could do it. And I've always done it pretty much every time I've gone to the IPL. So that's how I prepare then and there, because you can't replicate it here in winter. It's impossible.
And that's one thing I always say to my son Preston, who you know, Davey. You know, he's a very good cricketer, and he's I say, watch the way that David Warner runs between the wickets. That's the intent you have to have as a batsman, and put the pressure on the fieldsman. Away from cricket, you're a businessman, an entrepreneur. What's coming up on David Warner's sort of hit list at the moment in terms of what are you doing? What are you investing in? What's happening?
Yeah, look, obviously, I think the world or the Australian public know very well through some mishap photos out there that I'm involved in a brewery down in Mornington, St Andrews Beach Brewery, and that's going well. Obviously, tough times for everyone. We were closed for 40-odd weeks. I think the beauty of our business is that we own the land and all the materials and everything in the production. So we were blessed. Obviously, at the moment, there's a lot of shortage in hospitality, it's a sad thing, because everyone's struggling to get staff, and you know, new staff are popping up, and it's hard to control a business side of the reputation side of it if you don't have staff that are trained. But you know, they're things that us as the general public have to respect and understand. What else is there? I'm involved in vodka. Been involved in that for about 8 or 9 years now. I'm passionate about it. I love it.
Is the theme in this?
That's going well. There's a lot of alcohol involved in this, because
nothing wrong with that, mate.
Mate, my number one thing that I learned through, you know, I think Shaquille O'Neal said it pretty well back in the day. He goes, at the end of the day, you should just invest in things that go in your mouth, because everyone needs something to put in their mouth, you know. So whether it's kids and dummies, it's humans and water, or you know, having a celebration, good time, you need food and you need drink, right? So, you know, I felt like that business for me was great when I first started. I like it. I like a beer. And yes, I got involved in that. What else? Just, like everyone else, bricks and mortar. You know, I think that's the way forward. Compound interest is the way forward, especially during a pandemic. I'd love to have had more property at this stage, but everything's good. I think my investment now is putting kids through private schools. I didn't realise how expensive it was coming from a public school.
Oh, no.
Especially if you got 3.
Exactly. Who would have thought David Warner, when he first burst on the New South Wales scene, talking about compound interest? It's brilliant.
Davey, public perception, now you are a family man, and we all know, and it's fantastic to see the love you have for your wife and your kids, and does public perception change when you have a family? Like, it seems like there's a couple of times where people were calling you the Reverend, then you went to the Bull and back to the Reverend and all that sort of thing. How much does that change for you now you're a family man?
I think a lot more of the public, when I meet people, they actually get to know the real me. And like you both and a lot of my teammates and close friends, if you get to know me, you'll know the soft side of me. And, you know, with the girls, it's, you know, I love being a father. I love spending time with them and Candace. And I feel like if I didn't have a family and I was single, I'd probably still be that person that people probably don't like. And for me, I've never been one about public perception. I don't need to prove anything to people. You know, the people that are close to me know I've got a great heart. I'm caring. I feel like I'm a generous person, and I know that. Well, I like to think that if you ask any of my teammates or close friends, if there's someone in their phone they'd like to call today, if they called Davey, would he go for a beer? They'd say he would. So, I think that's for me, that I feel that with the public that they see me as the dad, Dave Warner. I think it's taken a lot to turn people that way. It's not by me trying to at all. You look at my social media pages, that's just me. That's who I am. I feel like I'm a funny person. I've got gravitas. Doesn't matter who you are on the street, I'll take you in as a mate. If I can help you in any way, I will. I just love people's company. That's just the person I am. And I won't change for anyone, and I just love being David and Dad.
Well, and you're you're great at both of them. Any promise in the girls? We see them playing cricket on social media, and obviously the girls' Ashes is currently happening. Is that something where you not push the girls, but maybe lean them towards playing sport and maybe cricket?
Yeah, I think there is a little bit of talent there. I know Ivy's very switch on academic wise. I don't know where she gets that from. Definitely not me. She loves her writing. She loves her writing and reading. Absolutely loves her tennis. She works in that. She wants to do. I feel like the bad parent here, where I don't want to push them into doing more in a week, more than what they do, and they want to do more. And I'm like, you can't do more than 2 days a week. It's just way too hard. They love dancing. They love cricket. They love OzTag. They're doing netball now. They absolutely love it. So if they don't want to do it and they want to stop, they can stop. But Ivy definitely with the tennis and the cricket. Indy loves her tennis and cricket as well. But Indy just rattles off all the boys' names. She loves, she loves Finchie. She loves Virat. She loves Starc and Pat Cummins. They're her favourite players. And then when Marnus comes around, they love Marnus because pulls faces at him and loves the dog. He always plays with him. So no, there is a little bit of talent there, but as you're well aware, I think the time will come when they want to choose. If they like it, if they don't, so be it. So I won't be pushing them into it, but I'll be pushing them into being outdoors and getting them off the devices as much as I can.
Yeah, that's a good call. Well, this is an oldie but a goodie, Davey. Hypothetical for you. A dinner party. Of course, Candace will have to go because I'm not quite sure what you're like as a cook. I reckon you'd have to be half handy with 3 daughters. You can have 3 guests. Who are they?
Good question.
Is that including my wife?
Of course. Someone's going to have to look after the play.
So three people.
Yep. You and Candy are inviting 3 people over.
Alive or dead?
Alive or dead could be anyone. Who would they be?
Okay, I would love to. I'd love to speak to Barack Obama. I think.
Why is that?
I just think I love politics, and I'd love to just pick his brains on a lot of topics, especially world topics, and obviously, everyone's got a lot of allies in the world as well. So I like to know a few top secrets of holding a fort, basically how to run a country with a lot of different. How would you put it in a non-political way? You got there's a lot of different backgrounds, cultures over in America, gun reforms, everything, right? So to run a country that looks quite chaotic, I think it would be a great one. I'd love to obviously sit down with a sports person. I'd love to sit down with probably Roger Federer. I think I can relate in some sense with the way he started his career with, caught a hothead and stuff like that, and then turned into an absolute marketing machine and a Grand Slam champion. I think he would be another person. And I'd love to... who else would there be? Any
musos?
Yeah, but I think musos would all be the same, wouldn't they? Just, music's not my forte, but who else would there be? Far out. So I'd just go to golf. I'd say Tiger Woods.
Okay, he'd be one of mine.
These are people that
he'd be one of mine.
I think I looked up to as well. But I know Candace would like to meet Roger. I think
most girls would, mate.
Yeah, no, exactly. But I think if I go another one, Nelson Mandela. If I could invite four, I think he would be a really interesting person to sit down and have a chat to about obviously the history with him and being obviously inside and whatnot, and running a tough country as well. So going through all the apartheid and whatnot, I think that'd be my general knowledge stuff is more or less the intriguing part of me.
And what are we drinking? Beer, wine, or vodka at this dinner?
There's obviously a variety there. I think red wine would definitely be on the menu, and I think with Roger Federer's hookups, we could probably get some nice pasta.
Sounds like a pretty good dinner, mate. Just in finishing, you love through the subcontinent. You mentioned the tour to Pakistan coming up, but in particular India. Very, very. You are the modern day cricketer on social media. You love doing all your stuff through India, which I love doing as well. What has that done to make you, I guess, the player that you are, with India and the love and the passion that you get through India? Has that improved your T20 cricket over there?
Yeah, I think it has. And I think, we talk about a lot in Australia about playing in Indian conditions. And I feel like, when we go there, I see it as I'm playing a tournament. I'm playing in the best tournament in the world, but I'm actually getting a lot of practice and insight to when I have to go there for Australia. And whether it's test matches or it's one-day cricket, I could be practicing on the worst wickets because they're tired through 2020 stuff, but I use that as like a practice hit out to go, all right, well, this is how I can score. This is what I might be coming up against when I come here for test matches. One-day wickets, the wickets deteriorate. I know it's only 40 overs, but you pick up on things. So I'm actually learning while I'm there, and I think that's held me in good stead, especially, I think, being so consistent in the IPL. But I think the number one thing for me is how humble everyone is over there and how welcoming they are. And they welcomed my family with open arms, and obviously me for the last decade. They're just such nice people, and I love going out and meeting people. I know it can be a security risk at times because we can create a bit of a crowd, and we don't want to harm other people by getting trampled or stuff like that. But I love mixing in with the locals because it's what we're about. That there's a billion people there. They love cricket. They're passionate about it, and there's no need for me to hide and shy away from not being in the public. So, if I can go down to the supermarket, I will with my family. I'll get in tuk-tuks. And I think it's just from our beginnings where we've been brought up with. And I think I love giving back to people. I'd stop on the side of the street, play a game of cricket, try not to cause too much fuss. But they've given me so much in my life with being able to play over there and work. And, I think we owe India, the country, a lot as well. And I think I'll be giving a lot of my time back. But I not think I will be giving a lot of my time back to their with through charity work, through trying to help youngsters who are coming throughout. I'd love to be involved in some of their programs with cricket as well, obviously with Australia as well. So, yeah, look, it's been fantastic, and I absolutely love the country.
Just a quick one, Davey, before we let you go. Obviously a disappointing IPL for you last year for reasons none of us could work out. You weren't actually playing.
Crazy. Stupid.
That's behind you now. Are we going to see in the IPL this year? Are you going to cause an auction frenzy?
I think as an opening batter, you don't really get too much attention. But I think I think it's going to be great. Another change. Obviously, I played 5 years at Delhi. I think 6 or 7 years with Hyderabad. It's going to be a good change. I think all the venues are going to be in Mumbai, so they're going to be nice batting tracks and nice bowling wickets. There's obviously a lot of swing there. So I pray and hope that all the teams, which I know, will have a great sheet, a great team, sort of 11 that they specifically want on their spreadsheet, and the team that I go to just has great people. I think that's the only thing that you could wish for when you go into these teams. I think having a great core over the years that I've been involved with, I've always had a great core bunch of people. I've absolutely loved my time every time I go there, and I think each team sort of has that, and they do pick that. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting watch. There's going to be a few players there that are going to go for some big dollars, and I'll just be grateful to be a part of it again. And if I can help out in any way with any of the teams, it'll be awesome.
Well, mate, I was over there commentating when that happened. I just could not believe that someone of your quality and what you've achieved too. You've been the orange cap holder for so many years in the IPL, and they drop you. Not the smartest move in my opinion, but anyway, we won't touch on
And then
that
get
too much.
player of the World Cup. Slightly embarrassing.
Well, slightly embarrassing.
Get that up,
so,
yes.
yeah, exactly. Have some of that. But, mate, thank you so much for coming on the Brett Lee podcast. I really appreciate it. You're a credit to Australian cricket. Always a crowd favourite. The kids love you. And, yeah, I think people now realise who the real David Warner is, mate. So best of luck moving forward, and looking forward to catching up for maybe a glass of nice red wine shortly. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thanks, Jess. You did a great job. Thank you.
Good on you, Davey Warner. Welcome back to the Brett Lee podcast. Thank you for listening in. And Buzz, David Warner, I mean, what a classy player, what a classy bloke, and he's just normal, down to earth.
And how good is it to get the opportunity to chat to these sort of people and hopefully give people an insight of what they're really like as opposed to the public perception, as he spoke about. And as I said before, probably my favourite when I had to think about it. Some of the moments he's been involved in over the years and the way he plays his cricket. I reckon if you asked people and kids, how would you like to play your cricket? And if they drew up a template, it'd be how David Warner plays.
100%. And that point that you made about that tall poppy syndrome in Australia, that's one thing. If you look over to the States where they put their sports people on a pedestal, not too much, but they appreciate what they've done and the success that they've got and the spoils that they can get from the hard work. Sometimes the Australian public are pretty harsh on their sports people.
We love nothing better than to build them up from humble origins, and we love the story as a way on the way up. As soon as they get there, we want to belt the shit out of them.
Yeah, get it.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been successful enough, and you want to drive a Ferrari, drive one. Who cares? Good on you. And you're lauded for that in other countries. Here, we want to belt the bejesus out of people.
Don't get it. Yeah, I do not get it. All right.
Hasn't been a problem for me. I'm still working on making my way up.
I think you're doing all right, Buzz. Buddy. Well done to you. Outstanding as always. Get involved in the WhatsApp group, and the link to that is in the episode notes. Buzz, another great episode.
Who's next? Geez, we're trotting them out.
I think the next one, I'm not going to give it away, but
Okay.
I think you'll appreciate the next one.
Well, keep your eyes peeled and ears peeled, everyone out there.
Something special's coming
How to
up.
whisper to me. This is a biggie.
All right. Well, what do we say, Buzz?
Keep your chins up.
Keep your chins up. We'll see you soon.